Morning, everyone. Salaam alaikum. Peace and greetings. I have to confess, I hate going after Peter, man. He just kills it for me because I can't even do some of the stuff he does. But I'm so happy to be here. And Peter, I love your energy. I wanted to see that energy all the time, everywhere. So I'm so honored and humbled to be here. Donna, thank you so much for your incredible words. So important, the work that you do, the NICLU does, the ACLU on a national level. It's incredible. I don't know what we would do without you guys. I really don't know. I feel like if we did not have the ACLU, I swear to God, I would be in total despair. So the fact that the sleeping giant woke up to support the ACLU is possibly the most sobering moment of our time. I'm so proud of each and every individual person across the nation and possibly across the world, because we had the Irish stand a couple of weeks ago where we had a senator from Dublin, Ireland, who made it his business to do a fundraiser for the ACLU. It's not just a U.S. issue that we are dealing with. We are dealing with an international crisis. And the fact that we have our brothers and sisters from all over the world saying we are in this with you and we will stand with you, and if you need money, we're going to give you money, is really such a wonderful thing that is happening right now. And I know that everybody who woke up on November 9th was in total despair and possibly thinking about packing their bags and going somewhere. But I'm glad nobody left. And I'm glad that we're still here. And I'm glad that we're seeing this as an opportunity. It is an opportunity for us to change the discourse and to make sure that we're out there. And I'm just so thrilled every time that I see people who've never gone to a march, who've never gone to a rally, who've never been politically involved, now saying, I need to show up, tell me what to do, what role can I play, is just so incredible. It's so incredible. And I know that probably each and every one of you is coming around some people who are coming out for the very first time. And possibly not having an idea of where to begin and what to do. And the fact that so many of you here in this room are like seasoned organizers and people that bring people together is just really incredible today. And so some of the things that I want to actually talk to that Donna had talked about, which are really important for me as I sat here and I listened to her. And I made a whole bunch of notes, but I'm going to try to keep it really short. And the first and foremost, the whole response to the Muslim ban was incredible. How communities across the United States immediately, day 2, rushed to airports, ascended onto JFK, Terminal 4, Terminal 1, Terminal 3 was incredible. The fact that our governor, who I don't really like to talk about too much, but basically made sure that the MTA was responsive and respectful of protesters and permitting people to be able to protest and exercise their rights, was probably one of the best things that he's done in the 8 years that I've known him to be in office. And so that was really a really incredible moment to see. And I was there that day, and I was there the second day, and I was there the third day. And then the number of lawyers who came from all over, who camped out. And then the number of individuals who were bringing food and water and hand warmers and everything to make our lives easy. It was just so incredibly moving to see that. And just the organizing, and then the quick lawsuits, overnight lawsuits that took place was really incredible. The one thing, however, as I think back about this time and the impact of the Muslim ban, and this is something that I want each and every one of us to take away with us, is that we failed the 7 countries, but now 6, 6 countries by not centering the very voices of those people who are affected. When we went to all the rallies, do you remember hearing from someone who's from Sudan, Somalia, Syria, Libya, Iran, and Yemen? I think I spoke at most of these rallies, but I should not be the only Yemeni American voice speaking of the impact and effect of the Muslim ban. So it is incumbent upon us when we're organizing, and we're organizing around the Muslim ban, to make sure that we center our organizing around the affected people. There are people from these faith communities and these countries that we need to make sure that we find them and we include them and we give them a platform to speak, and that we are there showing our support and really connecting with them in a much more deeper way. As I have been traveling across the city, I've actually had the opportunity to connect with some of these folks, and I've said to them, this is your defining moment. Your voice needs to be at the table. And in the coming weeks, we are trying to organize as many people here in New York City from the affected countries to be able to provide that opportunity. And I'm so glad to see that there are also brothers and sisters from the Muslim community that are here. And people, from the Muslim community have really been front and center, but it's also time for us as a community to make room for those affected countries at the table and make sure that we are hearing from them what is it they need. How can we support them? How can we really give them that platform to speak on behalf of their countries? And when we look at these 6 countries, the majority of them are third world countries. Syria used to be one of the most thriving places. Libya used to be one of the most thriving places. And now the 2 are literally third world countries. Iran, on the other hand, we know it's political why they're on this list. But when we look at Sudan, Somalia, and Yemen, these are third world countries. How in the world are these countries going to impact us as a nation? We have seen time and time over, the statistics have spoken that there has never been any act perpetrated on American soil by any of these countries. And yet they have been identified as being dangerous. And that we need to worry about them. So that's the part that I wanted to bring up on the Muslim ban. I also appreciated when Donna talked about it's all about race, and she connected us with the whole aspect of public education. Our public education system has been in disarray for over 100 years. When we look back at where we are as a country and where we stand on the international platform of education, we rank 17, number 17 on an international study that's done every several years to show where countries are ranking in reading and writing. We rank number 17 in a country of 40 that are the top 40. What does that say for us? As a nation, how are we prioritizing public education? That is a huge, huge issue that we have to look at and hold the very people that are in public education accountable as to why we spend more money on military and immigration enforcement than we do on education. When we, and the prison system, and yeah, all of that horrible stuff. And when we look at the statistics of the number of children right here in New York City, 67% of Black and Latino students graduate from high school. This is compared to 82% of their white student counterparts. What are we doing in this city that we have this huge disparity? A part of this huge disparity is because of the racial tensions that we see that exist and the racial disparities that exist. And what this means is that we need to make sure that we have culturally responsive education. We need an education system that looks at our children holistically. Their culture, their customs, their socioeconomic standing in our cities, looking at their mental, social, emotional capacities, and really providing them that support that they need. But we don't have a system that does that. We have a system that's too busy in prioritizing standardized testing and graduation requirements versus looking at the children and what they need. And it's so telling that on November 9th, we had students, Latino students, on the R train, 7:30 in the morning, riding the train and talking about the new world of Donald Trump. And those 4 students were all talking about how their undocumented mother may be deported. And one of those 4 students, the middle school students, one of them started to cry, and a mutual friend of a friend started to comfort her and tell her not to worry. But do you think their public school knew what had transpired that morning? Did anybody give them the opportunity to talk, to express what they were feeling, to give them an opportunity to try to process? I know that I had to be with other people to process that day, and I'm so grateful that MCM is at Judson Memorial Church, where we were able to do that. Christian, Muslim, and Jewish people coming together and just talking about what we had as a country just experienced. But did our children get that opportunity? And that's another question that we have to ask ourselves as to how are we going to hold public education accountable. And so a couple of other things that I think that touch upon education, and more importantly, why it is so critical for us to actually, make education a prominent situation in our organizing, is also what Donna talked about, First Amendment, freedom of speech and assembly. There are a lot of things happening in universities where students are not being given their political opportunity to organize and strategize. They're being stifled, they're being silenced. What does that say to us as a nation? Where university is supposed to be the public square of ideas and exchange. And we see now groups in campuses all over the country not being permitted to do so. In addition to that, also just looking at the fact that people have varying opinions on foreign policy and not being able to actually participate in a dialogue and express their freedom of expression is really also something that I find to be troubling. And for example, what I'm seeing right now happening with members of Jewish Voice for Peace, how they are being targeted and maligned for expressing their views. The Jewish community is not a monolith, as the Muslim community is not a monolith. And we should be able, as citizens of this nation, under the US Constitution, to voice our First Amendment right and be able to speak freely and respectfully. Okay, great. And to share our ideas. This is what this country is all about. This is why we all came to this country. And when we lose sight of that, then we've lost sight of everything that is important to us as a nation. Another issue in education is the fact that we have academics, we have teachers that are also being maligned, forced out of their positions. You know my story, right here in New York City. And I weathered it because of the support of so many of you here. And I weathered it because people believed in our Constitution. Right across the river, in New Jersey, there is a sister named Serene Hashem, who was actually removed out of her position because she showed a video of Malala. Y'all know Malala, right? Okay. Malala. And not only did she just show this, she was the only one showing it, She showed it after several members of her colleagues showed it to students. And it became a big deal because she was showing about a Muslim girl, and she herself is Muslim, and she's trying to propagate Islam in the classroom. And the school district decided to remove her, and to add insult to injury, there was a lawsuit filed by Serene, and in the discovery, they decided to look at all of her paperwork, and they saw that she was Palestinian. What they decided to do was to actually say that because she is from Palestine, she was not discriminated against based on national origin because Palestine doesn't exist. What does her Palestinian origin have anything to do with being discriminated against as an educator who is doing nothing different than all of her peers? This lawsuit now has reached a peak. And I bring it to your attention because if we care about public education and protecting the rights of individuals of different ethnic, racial, and religious backgrounds to be role models for our students, to be there for students to aspire to go into education, if we can't do that, then we failed our children. Now, what we're telling all of our children across the country is that they need to have white people in front of them because they're the only ones that can educate them. And that's not what this country is about. It's about valuing and celebrating our diversity. It's about bringing people together. It's about showing that we are an international country that welcomes all and celebrates all. And so I'm going to end there, and hopefully we'll have a really rich dialogue. Thank you.